Hello everybody, Christina here, and this week I decided to kind of do something that's really trendy at the moment. We're going to learn how to draw Among Us characters, which are actually pretty easy to draw, and so I thought I'd take it one step further and kind of show you how you can customize your Among Us character to make it yours. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so I'm gonna start this off with just a normal oval, and as you can see in the upper left-hand corner, my pencil is going to be a very light blue, and the ink is going to be black. So if you're following along at home, what you can do is do whatever I do in the blue in pencil, and then that way you can erase it later and do whatever I do in black in ink. And that way it'll look good for you. And so with this oval, what we're going to do is kind of flatten off the top because Among Us characters have kind of flat heads. That's kind of characteristic of them. And then we're going to draw the face mask as a little oval on the front of their face. And you'll see me do a few different iterations of the face mask as I try to kind of figure out the shape. But if you play around with it, you should get the gist of it. And then you can see here that I am basically trying to keep a round shape, but kind of exaggerate the shape in the directions that I saw on my reference photo of an Among Us character. So on the bottom right-hand corner of that oval, it's a little stretched out like it's gonna be a square almost. And then on the upper right-hand corner, it really takes a sharp turn like it would be a rounded rectangle like we were talking about on the bottom, but just more exaggerated. And then I put a little mark to remind myself when I do the ink that that's going to be exaggerated a little bit more so that it looks like a rectangle. What you're going to do is the backside of an Among Us character is very, very flat. So just draw straight down as far as you want to go. You can go farther than the end of the foot if you're not sure how far to go. It's not going to matter. And then you can draw the other side underneath the face mask is kind of has a little bit of a curve. You can just follow your oval with that and then start on the legs. And that's kind of what you can see I'm doing here. Try to make the legs a little bit even, and if your thigh gap looks a little too big like mine did, feel free to move your lines here and there. And then there's just a little line in the crotch area, if you'll excuse my crassness, I guess, that you can see there, and just try your best to kind of make those shapes. And the feet are going to have kind of a rounded edge. They're not quite flat like you might think. They've got a little bit of a rounding to them, so just pay attention to that. So, and then you're going to draw the little reflections in the face mask and draw where those shadows kind of start and stop. And you can kind of take a look at an Among Us character and just kind of follow the lines that make the larger shape of the character. And then a little oval at the top of the face mask that's going to be white. And then when you move on to the body, you can basically follow the shape of your oval and just flatten out the bottom a little bit. And that'll be basically the shape of the dark color that's going to be on the bottom of your character. And now we're going to start inking. And so you can just kind of go and try to make as neat lines as you can. Take it in as many pieces as you need to. You can see here I really take my time with the feet trying to get the right shape. And you will be going over this again to make it a little bit thicker, because Among Us characters have very, very thick outlines, which kind of helps you cover up your mistakes. So don't sweat this too much. And as you can see, I did make the line on his leg underneath his crotch a little bit thicker because that's where there's going to be a really dark shadow. And later on, that'll kind of blend in with the rest of it as we make our lines thicker. And you'll also notice that I'm not going over the lines that we did at the end of our pencil sketch. And that's because that's just kind of showing us where the line is between the dark color and the light color. So there's no actual black line between those. It'll just come in a later step. So bear with me and don't put a black line on where we were talking about there on the inside of the character. Just outline his backpack, his face mask, and his body. And while you're here, I'd like to just say it would be greatly appreciated if you like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. It really helps me out. And you can even check me out on Patreon. And now we're going to start doing the color. And I decided to color the whole character the base color at first. You don't have to do this, but it makes me feel like all of my spaces are going to get filled in. So it makes me feel better. And then I bring my sketch layer back up because now I get to see the lines where my darker red is going to start. And before I do my darker red, I decided I better color in my face mask first, right? That needs a base color, so I just did a light blue. That seems to be what all of the characters' face masks are, regardless of their body color. And obviously you can color them whatever color you want, but I went with red because it seems to be the go-to Among Us guy right now. And I start to sketch out according to those lines where my dark red is going to go. And then I basically just fill that in. And that's what those lines were for that I was talking about. Basically, what you can see, we didn't need a black line in between the two colors, but it does help us outline where the dark red is going to be. And now we're going to put the little oval on the top of his face mask to make it a little bit shiny. And we're going to go into our color selector and get a little bit darker, grayer blue. And we're going to bring up our sketch layer, and I cleaned it up a little bit, and now I'm making sure that it's the right shape like we sketched out before. And that looks pretty good according to the sketch that we did. And now, and we can really customize this guy a lot, which is what I want to show you in the second half of this video. So let's get going. From here, I wanted to make one for me. And for me, my main thing in life is my bangs right now. So I thought that I'd make some little cartoon bangs for myself. Now, enough about me. I'd like to also do one for my friend. And my friend really loves his wool hats. I wouldn't say beanies, but more comfortable hats, and I'm very much in that court as well. I love my big green hat with all of my pins on it. But I thought that I'd do a little homage to him and do a little hat on my Among Us character. So you can kind of see me feeling out where the lines should go, trying to do from memory what his hat looks like. And I actually went back and forth trying to figure out what colors and what lines and all of that. I ended up going with a dark gray background with an even darker gray stripe on the horizontal way on the hat. And then I accented it with white with a kind of messier brush because hats aren't exactly the cleanest looking things. They are woven, and it turned out really well. I'm really proud of it. Moving on from that, I thought I'd do one last character. And so this one, I wanted to kind of be a thank you to all of the essential workers out there, such as myself, who have been working on the front lines since this whole COVID pandemic thing started, and so I thought it would be really cute if an Among Us character had a mask on. I know that they're in, like, spacesuits, so a mask doesn't really help them with anything, but aesthetically, it's adorable. So I started just with the basic shape of a mask and filled it in with a sort of lighter blue. I then did some of the shadows and outlines with a darker gray blue and filled in some white in the top and bottom of the masks because this is the style of mask I'm used to seeing. And then eventually I basically just outlined it with black and highlighted it with some white in certain spots, especially around the ear loops. And then because I felt like it was a little bit too big for the character, I made it smaller, but that can always be adjusted. So these are all three of my little Among Us characters, and I really had a good time kind of playing around with them and making them special, and you can definitely do the same with yours. The sky's the limit, and I've seen a lot of creative Among Us characters out there already. But if you're a fan of games like that, Among Us is great. Basically, you're trying to figure out who is the imposter that is killing the rest of your friends on the spaceship, and you have to vote people out here and there. So it's a very crazy game, and you can see a lot of it online recently. But these are my takes on the characters, and I hope you enjoyed them. And I hope that you make your own Among Us characters, and feel free to tag me in them at ubdraws on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and also check out my Patreon. It's open now and we're doing good things, and I'm really, really excited. So thank you again, and we will see you next week. But so these, whew,